Welcome to Merit Digital Presents. Today we're talking about Google Docs styles and some shortcuts that we can employ to make sure our docs consistently look the way we want. So why is this important? Why would we bother to change our default styles? Of course, Google Docs have a default font, Arial, so your documents look a certain way right out of the gate. And that's fine. You're welcome to use those and never think about it twice. However, if you have a brand, and hopefully you do, you may be using those brand fonts or colors for at least some of your documents, maybe your contracts, your invoices, or proposals. And if you're using that brand sometimes, you should probably be using it all the time. This is an easy way to apply your brand styles to every document so that when your customers and clients work with your content, they know that it's yours. On that same theme, changing your default styles helps to make sure that you're applying your brand consistently. There are many elements to Google Docs: fonts, colors, bullets, headers, and footers. We'll talk more about these in a minute, but if you want to make sure that all the parts of your documents match over time and across the different types of content, changing your default styles is a key to success. Third, time. We are all pressed for time, and when you're working with a document, especially on short notice, it's a huge benefit to have your styles in place so that your content is ready to go looking complete and professional as quickly as possible. And finally, flexibility. Sometimes we find ourselves working with our documents in a pinch, maybe on our phone or a tablet, or even worse, on someone else's. Having our styles in place makes it possible to change content without having to do complex finger tapping on our mobile devices in order to apply some critical update. So how do we do this? Well, normally we would be creating a template or maybe several templates for the documents that we're working with most frequently. And the good news is that for many Google users, this is still an option. Those on a Google Education or Enterprise plan, or those using the Business Standard or Business Plus plans, do have this option. However, as of 2021, Google changed the rules so that users of free Google Docs or those on the Business Starter plan for $6 a month cannot create and save their own templates. This video is primarily looking for workarounds for those users. Just because small business users and individuals don't have a lot of extra money doesn't mean that this isn't super important for them. So what are our options? What can we do? First, we can change our default fonts and also the paragraph styles, and we can save those changes so that all future documents will use those as a default. That's a big first step. Secondly, we do have access to Google-provided templates. We'll take a look at those and see if it makes sense to use one of those templates for you or your business. Finally, we can still create templates by editing a document to be the way that we want and then duplicating it when we need to create a new document. This is an inelegant solution, but it's much quicker and more efficient than starting from scratch each time. And I'll show you a few time-saving techniques that will help make sure that we don't make mistakes or mess up our templates along the way. So let's take a moment and talk about each of these options. To begin, the first step is to change the default fonts and the paragraph styles in your Google Workspace environment. In my experience, the best way to work with this is to have a dedicated document like the one here for font and style defaults so that you can compare the paragraph styles that are in use for your environment. In this case, I've set the title, subtitle, headings 1 through 6, and paragraph content here so that I can see what each of the default styles looks like. And when I have this, I can start to go through and try out different fonts, different colors if needed, different font weights, sizes, etc., until I'm happy with the structure of my document and the comparison of my different headings. It's a good idea to make sure that none of your headings are too large or too small compared to your content, and that they match, again, your brand styles such as they are. Once you have the styles that you're happy with, you can highlight the content that you want to assign to each paragraph style. So in this case, I've highlighted what is the title of my document, and I can come up here in the bar and choose Title. In this menu, there's an option for Apply Title, which will apply the current title styles. But in this case, I want to save my changes, so I'm going to choose Update Title to Match, and that will set the font and styling that I've selected for this text to be the default for the title paragraph style. I'm going to need to do this with each of the different paragraph styles in my document. So again, those include the normal text, title, subtitle, and each of the headings. So here I can go to subtitle and again, choose update subtitle to match. If in the course of working with this document, you decide to make some changes, for example, I no longer feel like Lotto is the best font for my normal text, and I want to change this to IBM Plex Sans. I can make that change and then come back up to normal text and choose update normal text to match. What you'll see when I do that is that my other normal text in this document have been adjusted as well. It's useful to remember when you're creating a document that assigning these paragraph styles to your content is a great way to save time when you need to make edits later. In addition to using this toolbar to make these changes, I can also use the format menu. So for example, if I highlight heading 1, I can go under format and paragraph styles, and I have the same options here, update heading 1 to match. Keep in mind that all I've done so far is change the paragraph styles for this document. It's useful, but it's not going to save me time down the line and apply these to future documents. To make this my default style for all Google Docs, I need to take a next step. Under the Format menu and Paragraph Styles, there's an Options menu at the very bottom. And here you'll see a few useful options. First, save as my default styles, and this will change the current paragraph styles that are set to be your default paragraph styles. This is the step that we're going to take here so that in the future, if we create any new documents, they will use these styles. And here you can see that by default, my normal text is using the IBM Plex Sans. My headings, subtitles, etc. are using the same styles as my previous document. Again, this is only going to apply to new documents going forward. You will not be able to apply it automatically to past documents, but if you go back and choose to apply to use my default styles, that will change an existing document to use your newly defined default styles. The final menu option under Format, Paragraph Styles, and Options is to reset styles. And you'll want to be careful with this one because this will reset you to the default Google fonts. Option 2. Let's talk about using an existing Google template, perhaps with some minor modifications to represent your brand. This might be a quick way to get you up and running. Let's start by finding the template gallery. If you go to docs.google.com, you'll see a list of your recent documents, as well as the ability to start with a new document at the top. And on the far right, you'll see there's a button for the template gallery. This will show you all the available templates. You can also get to this from your drive by choosing a new document and then choosing from template instead of from a blank document. Browsing through the template gallery, you'll see that these are broken up into sections by the type of template. So there's a bunch here for work, some for sales or proposals, for legal, and then there's more random and personal ones down below. At the bottom, below each template, you'll see that there's occasionally a couple useful pieces of information. First, there's the type of document, but then below that there's also this name, coral or spearmint, and this represents the theme that your template gallery is using for this document. And the themes are collections of fonts and paragraph styles and colors that are used across all the template gallery. So for example, you'll see that there's the spearmint theme applied to letters, to a pet resume, and then to other more official documents like onboarding notes or project proposals. Now, the good news is that if you are just getting started or you don't have a brand theme, then you might be able to choose one of these and use it just as it is, particularly if it matches your existing brand or your personal preferences. But many times you'll find that either the font or paragraph styles or the colors are not quite right for what you need. So let's talk a little bit about how we can start to adjust those or at least work with them more easily. First, if I go into one of these documents, I can browse through here and see how it's set up to work. In particular, you'll see that your color schemes are going to be available at the top under Custom in any place where a color needs to be selected. So whether that be your text color or highlighting or your shapes, you'll see these two custom colors, in this case the green and dark gray for the spearmint theme, are available at the top. But let's say you want to use your own brand colors instead of these. The good news is that we can add our colors pretty easily by using this plus in the custom block. You can edit the hexadecimal, which is the text representative of your color, or you can just scroll through the hues and choose a color that you like. Now, one thing that might be able to help you, which I would certainly recommend if you have a brand, is to have those hexadecimal numbers for your brand readily available. If you're using Canva or Photoshop or some other tool, hopefully you have those written down, maybe even just in a text document. But another way that you can get access to them quickly and easily is to use a color picker in your browser. I'm using Chrome, and you can see up here at the top that I have the Chrome extension that's literally called Color Picker. And if I click on this, there's a section here for picked colored history. Now, I've already done the work of adding the hexadecimal numbers for my brand colors, which I can see up here. But this makes it really easy for me to click on one of these, grab the hexadecimal number for the color I want to use, add it over here in Google Docs. And once I say OK, you'll see that this color is now available with the other custom colors in this document. So with this process, I can go through and quickly add a number of the colors that I might need. And add them to my document. Now, whenever I highlight some text or go to make edits to some other color option, I should be able to see my colors in the pop-up. Keep in mind that what I've done here is only going to apply to this document, and it can be time consuming to do this to all of your documents, but it does get a little quicker with the use of something like this Color Picker extension. Now, the other thing I might want to do is adjust the fonts in this document. And keep in mind, this should be a lot easier because if you followed the first section of this video, we've already saved our preferences for paragraph styles. To apply them to this document, we only need to go to Format, Paragraph Styles, and then under Options, choose to use my default styles. And once I click on that, you'll see that all of the styles in this document have been adjusted to use my preferred styles. So if I go up under Styles, you'll see these match what we used in the previous section of this video, and they've been applied to all the parts of this document. There may still be work to be done to make this match the way you want to, but these few steps make it a lot easier to make quick blanket edits to documents and start using a template quickly and easily. Finally, let's talk about how you create your own templates and then make a copy to start using that when you need a new document. In order to help us begin, I've created a new document that we'll use as our quote-unquote base template for all of our documents moving forward. The idea here is that we get this into the place where we're happy using all of our styles and brands, fonts, colors, etc. And then in the future, whenever we want to create a new document, we can do so by making a copy of this one. So this document looks very similar to the one we started working with for our paragraph and font styles, but it has more elements to it because remember, Google Docs have a lot going on. It's very easy to forget all the things that you need to include that you want to have formatted for all of your documents. For example, you may want to format your list to use a specific type of bullet, or even just to adjust the spacing of your current bullets. You may also want to include something like your company name and page numbers in the footer, or customize things like your link colors to match your brand. Speaking of the brand, I've already gone in and added my brand colors under Custom here. I did this in the same way that we talked about in Section 2 to add new brand colors, grabbing them from the color picker in my Chrome extension. So at this point, this document looks a lot like I want it to look for all future use. Maybe there's a few other elements that I want to add. Potentially, I would like to have a sample cover page or some content in a header. But the idea is that this should be, again, a base template, a starting point for what you want to do for all of your documents. It's still possible to create your own versions of all of the templates that you saw in the Google Template section, for example, meeting notes or cover letters, and then create duplicates of those specific documents for specific use cases that you might use frequently. Now, the real trick here is that if you come back into this document and you're not paying attention, if you start to make edits, you can potentially edit this base document and then you'll no longer have the base template to work off of. So the first step when using this document to create a new document is always going to be to create a copy. And in order to do that, you're going to go to File and Make a Copy. If you're concerned that you're going to forget this, might I suggest adding that text to the title of your document. Another option to help keep you from editing this document accidentally is to have it be owned by another account. So, for example, if your Google Workspace has an extra admin or help account, then perhaps this document can be owned by them and only be visible or minorly editable to the other accounts in your Google Workspace. That way, all they would be able to do is open the document and make a copy. They would never be able to edit it. One of the other things that you can do that will help keep you from accidentally editing this document is to put it in a separate folder. In this case, I've created a folder that's called Templates, and the only things in here are quote-unquote templates, so the beginner documents that I want to use to create new documents. Keep in mind that if you do that, one of your first steps when you make a copy is probably going to be to move your document out of the Templates folder and into the space where you want it to be saved. Once you get into the habit of doing this, however, this should really help you keep track of everything and keep your templates in a safe and secure spot. Thanks for listening. I hope this video has been helpful, and feel free to reach out anytime you have questions about how to make Google Docs your own.